day I die. Swing those hips around, can't stop, roll back down. My ladies, short, tall, thin or wide, always down and ready to ride.
Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Gene. I'm happy you're here to join me on another Sunday edition of Primed and Lubed. Lots and lots of stuff going on in the NHL this week. A few things with the Oilers as Klingberg made his debut. The Edmonton Oilers had their skills competition this afternoon, and I was trying to get those results for you guys. However, there was nothing I could find posted. Maybe I'm just looking in the wrong spots, but anyway, it's just a skills competition. I can tell you one thing, Connor McDavid wasn't in it, Ekholm wasn't in it, and Janmark wasn't in it. So, I mean, when your main showcase superstar isn't in it, is it really even worth attending? I mean, you still had Leo there, but anyway, it is just a charity event, and all proceeds go to charity. Regardless, lots of stuff going on throughout the league. Last night, there's going to be a major suspension to Minnesota's Ryan Hartman, as he basically smashed Tim Stutler's face right to the ice. There's already rumors that this could carry over 5 games, which, you know what? If you look at the play, it should very well be considered. That being, like, that kind of stuff can't happen. That can't happen in the league. Those kind of violent acts, just like the Ryan Reeves hit on Darnell Nurse, who Ryan Reeves was not in last night's game. And yeah. So anyway, let's get to Edmonton Oilers discussion. Lots to talk about this week on the channel. And feel free to chime in at the end of the episode. I'll try to answer as many of your questions or display some of your comments. Keep them clean, please. But beforehand, I'm just asking you kindly, if you do like the content that I bring, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to my channel, as it will help build and grow it to further success. I do enjoy doing the channel. I'm not really doing it for monetization. If I was, I would have quit a long time ago. That being said, let's dive into what we're going to discuss this week, as the Oilers and Kraken played each other. That was the only win that the Oilers got this week. We're going to also discuss some of the news this week. I'm kind of revamping around the league to a new segment called The League This Week, and I'm just making it a little bit more graphically interesting. Then we're going to talk about the Wings and Oilers game. We got the Rig Report for the first one of 2025. I will be running that. Also, the results of last night's game against the Leafs. The Western Conference standings, the upcoming games that are coming up, and it's the last week of NHL hockey for a few weeks, as after this week, they take a bit of a break and do the Four Nations tournament. We got the poll question, and we'll get into your final thoughts. So, without further ado, let's talk about the Edmonton Oilers and the Seattle Kraken game. This game was, I believe, Tuesday night, and let's get right into that one. Okay. Connor McDavid and Corey Perry scored in the second period, and the Edmonton Oilers rallied to beat the Seattle Kraken 4-2 on Monday night. It was a Monday night game, sorry, not Tuesday, for the third straight win. Matthias Ekholm had a goal and an assist, and Matthias Janmark also scored for the Oilers, who have won 11 of 14. The Oilers are just kicking ass right now, like really good, with exception to the last 2 games. But when I get into the Rig Report, you're going to be very impressed with the results for the month of January. Anyway, getting ahead of myself, and moved back into first place in the division. It was just temporary. Vegas now has the lead again. Calvin Pickard had 26 saves in this game. Ellie Televan and Vince Dunn scored for the Kraken, who led 2-1 in the first period, after period one, but lost the second time in 3 games. Joey Decord stopped 27 shots. McDavid back with the Oilers lineup after a 3-game suspension for cross-checking Vancouver's Connor Garland. Tied the score 2-2 at 1:57 of the second period. Perry gave the Edmonton Oilers the lead for good at 9:38. Ekholm had an empty netter with 58 seconds to seal the deal for the Oilers. And I'll tell you what, say what you will about older players, but Corey Perry, he still brings it, and he brings it every night. My takeaways for the Kraken, Seattle leading scorer Jared McCann was held scoreless after tallying 5 points in the previous 4 games. McCann's last goal that wasn't an empty net came, by the way, on December 22nd in Colorado, with 15 consecutive games without scoring on a goalie. Oilers, Edmonton tied the score 1-1 with 5:33 remaining in the opening period as Connor Brown took a bad angle shot off the boards that caromed off teammate Janmark in front and past Decord. It was only Janmark's second goal of the season. The other was an empty netter 39 games ago, and his first point since December 22nd. So he's really tailed off. We need to get him going. That's for sure. 100%. He was really good for us in the playoffs last year. As far as key moments, the Oilers went up 3-2 midway through the second period when Darnell Nurse made an impressive pass from his own line goal to the opposing blue line to send Perry all in alone. The 39-year-old veteran made no mistake, netting his 9th of the season. 9 goals for a 39-year-old. Not bad. Edmonton is now 11-2 all-time against the Kraken, including 8 straight wins by a combined 55-33 goal margin. So yeah, there you go. That was the only win for the Oilers this week. The other games were close, though. One went to a shootout against Detroit, and then that Toronto one, again, we go back to the controversy of offsides on that. And that offside looked very similar to an offside play Cale Makar made back in 2022 when the Oilers were playing the Avalanche. The Oilers would have lost that series hands down, but I still think that call from this day, I still think that was an incorrect call. And I'm still frustrated about it. Anyway, the league this week. This is the revamped version of Around the League. I'm just making it a little bit more graphically presentable, and I'm just going to minimize the stories to 1 or 2 major stories instead of doing 5 yaddies of this guy. Oh, this guy got waived, da-da-da. Just boring stuff. I'd rather just kind of pinpoint to some major stories. So let's take a look at that right now. And again, new graphics, a little bit of a new intro there. So we'll start off with JT Miller dealt to the New York Rangers. Now, on so many episodes, I screw his name up calling him TJ Miller, and I don't know why. It's just on this channel I do it. When I'm talking with my buddies, I say JT Miller, but for some reason on this channel, I mix it up. So I'm hoping I'm getting it right now. JT Miller dealt to the New York Rangers. This was something that we knew was coming, okay? There's been, and I'm going to just give you my little bit on JT Miller and how I feel. I honestly think that man is a cancer he was in the dressing room of the Vancouver Canucks. I can't say he's been a cancer in every team he's played for, but for the Vancouver Canucks, he has. Now, I'm just going to give you a few examples. So a few years ago, Captain Bo Horvath got chased out to the New York Islanders. There was rumors that he wasn't getting along with who else? JT Miller. I don't know if it was 2 seasons ago. I don't know which goalie it was. But if you do recall, there was a play where the Vancouver Canucks were trying to catch up late in the game. The goalie tender needs to listen to the coach. He doesn't need to listen to the players. And JT Miller got all frustrated that he wasn't heading off to the net and slammed his stick violently across in the game, just showing a little bit of a temper tantrum when it really is the goaltender's intention to listen to his coach. He's not supposed to listen to other players. There was that. And then, of course, all this stuff that's been brewing for, I don't know, 3-4 months now. And like, I'm based out here in Vernon, BC. So obviously I have some of my coworkers and friends and that are Canucks fans. But they all agree with me. JT Miller needed to be gone a long time ago. And I think a lot of them have that sentiment that, hey, thank God. Like, he's a good player, but he's not worth the trouble that it is to keep him on the roster. So, yeah. So the trade breaks down as the Rangers acquire JT Miller, defenseman Eric Branston, and Jackson Dorian from the Vancouver Canucks for forward Philip Hedl, defenseman Victor Marcini, and a first-round pick in 2025 NHL draft. There was rumors that early on going on, they could have managed to get Zibanejad from the Rangers. There was rumors that if they would have dealt him earlier, they could have made a bigger splash, but they decided to hold on. And now they're in a position where they didn't get as much in a return for him. But hey, that's what you get when you hold on a little too long. The other big story of this week is the salary cap is going way up. Way up. So guess what? We know one Connor McDavid is going to be paid, and he's going to be paid handsomely, a king's ransom. With what these are now just projections. They're not legitimately how it's going to break down. And we don't know if we're going to get another flu going or bird flu or whatever going on that shuts the league down again. But if everything stays status quo, they're looking at a projection of $95.5 million for next season. In 25-26, $104 million. And then in 26-27, $113 million. Like, that's mind-blowing money, man. Mind-blowing money. So what does that mean? You can pretty much bank it that Connor McDavid is going to be a $20 million player, or pretty damn close to it when his contract is up. 19, maybe 18. It all depends on where his head is at and what he wants to build around him to win a Stanley Cup, right? I don't think he's a greedy person. I think he wants to win really bad. So I think he will take a haircut, but I don't think he's going to take that much of a haircut. I could see a minimum making 18 if this is what they project. So we'll see what happens. That's a massive bump for the NHL. And where they're going to get it, there's going to be a lot of teams. A lot of teams struggling to meet the floor, though. That's going to be a very interesting thing to see what happens. Because right now you got maybe 10, maybe 12 teams that can meet the floor easily. And then after that, like, can you tell me that places like Columbus and places like Ottawa, places like, even maybe Minnesota, like, can they meet the floor? I don't know. I really don't know. But we'll see what happens and how that plays out. So that's all I got for the league this week. My new segment that I wouldn't say new, just slightly altered segment from NHL this week. So that now takes us to the Wings and the Oilers game. pretty decent game. Can't really complain. Decent officiating. It wasn't a bad game. Just the Wings beat us. Simple as that. It was a few mistakes by the Oilers, and they end up beating us. Let's load that one up right now. Okay, so Dylan Larkin tied it in the second period in a shootout to help the Detroit Red Wings beat the Edmonton Oilers on Thursday night by a count of 3-2. Lucas Raymond also scored for the Wings in the tiebreaker, while Connor McDavid and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins failed on their chances against Alex Leon, who made 45 saves in regulation and overtime. Edmonton took a 2-0 lead in the first period when Leon Draisaitl scored his 36th goal of the season, and Jeff Skinner also connected. Michael Ramanson scored at 9:59 of the second, and Larkin tied it with 8:13 left in the period. Stuart Skinner stopped 32 shots for the Oilers. And really, this is actually a quick thing, as they only just did, and the only reporting I got was the takeaways. Usually I get key stats and all that, but this is the only thing. The takeaways was Detroit is 12-4-1 since Todd McLellan has become coach on December 26th, so a pretty decent record for McLellan. The Oilers' winning streak ended at 3, as the Oilers have won 11 of 15, so a good job for the Oilers. They're sailing along. They finally woke up. Can't complain. I believe that's the only thing it goes to, and then it jumps back right to the Dylan Larkin. So there you have it. It was a decent game, a couple of mistakes. The Oilers had it in the grasp and failed to make it work. So that takes us to the Rig Report for January 2025. I shot that this morning, and some pretty good results. Let's get right into that right now. All right, despite the last few games being not so favorable for the Edmonton Oilers, one good thing to talk about is the Oilers had an excellent month in January. The best grade for quite some time, actually, for the overall grade, as they've improved on every category there is to be named. There is one category that they still need work on, but hey, I'm pretty proud of what they have done. Considering their season started off kind of crappy, right? So, got to look at all the pros and cons. So, those of you that are new to this channel and don't know what the Rig Report is, well, the Rig Report is basically a month-to-month breakdown of how the Oilers have done from the previous month. Did they improve? Did they go down a grade or two? And I use a grading formula ranking them from first in the league to 32nd in the league, and I allocate certain grades. So if you're first or you're second in the league, well, you're going to get an A+. If you're 31st or 32nd, you get the fail. So with that being said, let's get on with the Rig Report for the month of January 2025. Again, on the Rig Report, I do go over the following statistics. I will grade them on their point percentage, their shots for, their shots against, power play, penalty kill, goals for, goals against, save percentage, and face-off win percentage. I combine all these totals to get a grand total, and that's how I grade how they have done throughout the month. So we're talking about the month of January, the very first Rig Report for 2025. How did they look? You guys are going to be quite impressed. We're going to start off with The point percentage that they had in December was an A minus. Now, this is one that they tend to stay pretty consistent and really good at, but it has lulled at the beginning of the year when they weren't exactly firing on all cylinders and on the Stanley Cup final hangover. So my comment for this month is the Edmonton Oilers may have started their season slow, like a yawning bear coming out of hibernation. But once again, they realized their children, aka a Stanley Cup playoff berth, was at risk, and their instincts and their grisly instincts emerged. That being said, they are now an A plus. So a huge, huge, huge win for the Oilers here on that particular stat. We go for shots for, where last month they scored an A. This month, this is the result of some unlikely intangibles and have the whole team buying in. Podkolzin has been an absolute perfect partner for Leo. This month they scored an A plus. That's right, 2 A pluses in a row to start off this particular month of the Rig Report. So, guys, like I said, they had a really good month in January. In December, they scored an A for shots against. So they were pretty good at defending. For the third straight month in a row, they will retain the same grade. However, there has been improvement in all 3 months as they went from 5th in the league in November to 4th in the league in December. They are currently 3rd in the league and are trending to have an A plus when I do the report next month. That's right. Again, they hit an A. Another huge grade for the Edmonton Oilers. I love when we're talking good things about this team. Okay, so in December, the power play was a B. Now, if you remember, they were really struggling on the PK and the power play at the beginning of the month. This was a huge jump in December. With the arsenal of McDavid, Draisaitl, and Bouchard as nuclear options, then to have a cast of characters like Hyman, Henrique, Ekholm as your heavy artillery, this team should never stifle on a PP. I think everyone out there can agree with me on that. This month, they scored an A minus. So that's a big jump because that's actually 2 grades up because they would have the A, or actually 3 grade jump. No, 2 grade jump, sorry. But that is huge. And again, they're staying consistent with the A's. In fact, this month, I believe there's only 1 grade that is not in the A's, and we're going to get to that shortly. For the penalty kill, and I guess shortly is where we're at. The penalty kill is still struggling for this Edmonton Oilers team. They were a D plus in the month of December. However, the Edmonton Oilers continue to make strides on this statistic, but I do still believe they need a stay-at-home defenseman. Could John Klingberg be the answer? I guess that's going to remain to be seen. But this month they did go up to a C on the penalty kill. So again, there is improvement on this stat. It still is a work in progress. And I think that is, honestly, I think that's the only grade that they did not score an A on. For goals for, they scored a B plus. This month, some players departing and some coming into the fold during the offseason. It's fair to say familiarity to each other's tendencies are starting to take place. They score an A minus in this category for the month of January. And again, yeah, it takes a few months. It took a few months we're starting to see Jeff Skinner come around, which is huge. And he's probably the latest bloomer of this group of new incomies. But even Arvidsson kind of struggled out of the gate with the team. Podkolzin seemed to fit right in, though. That's one thing I can say with him. And, they're looking really, really good. Okay. Excuse me. For the category of goals against, last month in December, they scored a B. Communication between the tenders and the defense has improved, but some players need to get in the lanes a little bit better, as this team needs a player willing to eat pucks like a Cody Ceci or a Chris Russell. I couldn't agree more. We need more of a guy willing to sacrifice the body for the play. Ekholm does a little bit. I'm finding Kulik does quite a bit. But you'd rarely see Bouchard getting in the lanes, at least I don't think I do. So, yeah, we need a few players like that. The new pickup, I can't think of his name right now. Ty Emerson. Ty Emerson is actually one of our best at doing that right now, too. So, good job for him. Anyway, this month they scored an A minus. For the month of January, again, another A. So just a remarkable month as far as the rig report goes for the Edmonton Oilers. In December, the Edmonton Oilers scored a B plus for save percentage. This, and I admit, I've been hard on Stuart Skinner a lot, and I keep getting Renegade Man kind of giving me the whiplash back as far as his play goes. I'll tell you what, the combination of them last month, remarkable. Nothing to complain about. I'll complain a little bit about last night's game, but overall for the month of January, they looked amazing. And I wrote down a lot of credit goes to the goaltending tandem of Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard for really going above and beyond the poor and lazy zone coverage. And we know about that. I've discussed that on this channel about certain players not getting back into the play quick enough. This stat will not hold if the D can't seem to be in front of them. So really, they're going a little bit more than what they should be doing. The D need to get, like I say, we need a guy that's willing to eat some pucks. We need another guy willing to eat pucks. Anyway, for this month, they score an A. Massive gain for this team. Massive, massive gain. For face-off win percentage, the Oilers are very good at. Very good at. And they've been very good for a very long time, as we're going to get into that right now. The Edmonton Oilers' wizardry and masterfulness has had them on top of the class for several months now. In fact, the last time they had a score lesser than an A was in November 2023, 13 months ago. Once again, this team scores an A and are continuing to dominate that dot. Despite Leon Draisaitl getting kicked out so many times off the dot. So that means the overall grade for the month of January 2025 is an A minus. Very good mark for the Edmonton Oilers. Very good mark. They've had this mark, I think once or twice before since I've been doing this rig report, but I can't say enough. Excellent, excellent job. We'll see you next month for the Rig Report. I'm Gene, and you guys have a great evening. Yeah, awesome. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, when I shot that this morning, I didn't have the volume turned up on my applause and boo buttons, but I have to give them an amazing applause for having such an absolute stunning month. Makes me warm and fuzzy inside with all the Edmonton Oilers have been doing, with exception to last night. Oh, where do we go? Where do we go with this? This was not a fun game to watch, especially the first 10 minutes when the Leafs made it 3-0. Do you want to blame Skinner? Well, he deserves someone to blame. Do you want to blame the defense? Yeah, they kind of do want to blame. It was not a good effort. It was actually kind of ugly. The Oilers would rally and came within an eyelash of tying it up, but of course there was an offside call in this game, and very similar to an offside call by Cale Makar in the 2022 Stanley Cup playoffs. To be honest, I think Cale Makar's was way more egregious than this one, and his goal counted, and our goal last night did not count. Again, the Oilers should have never put themselves in that predicament in the first place. So let's get into the third game of the week against the Maple Leafs. Okay, Joseph Wall stopped 45 shots. Matthew Nyes, Mitch Marner each had a goal and an assist as the Toronto Maple Leafs survived a frantic finish to beat the Edmonton Oilers 4-3 on Hockey Night in Canada last night. William Nylander and Bobby McCann also scored, and Austin Matthews had 2 assists to help the Maple Leafs snap a 3-game losing streak during which they had only scored 3 goals. Nylander reached 30 goals for the 4th straight season. Evan Bouchard, Zach Hyman, and Corey Perry scored for Edmonton in its 2nd straight loss. Stuart Skinner made 24 saves. Toronto led 3-0 after the first period and 4-1 early in the third period. So the Oilers were able to shut down the second period. Obviously, Knobloch kicked their ass a little bit and said, "Wake the you-know-what up," and they did. However, the damage was already done. And, I mean, hey, they almost rallied. It was close. And that's the one thing about the Edmonton Oilers I admire is they never say die. No matter how bad it gets, they keep fighting, and they nearly caught up. In fact, if you ask me, they did catch up, but that's a different story. Takeaways from the game for the Maple Leafs. Toronto got a major boost with forwards John Tavares, Nyes, and Nyes returning to the lineup. Tavares missed 6 games with a lower body injury, and Nyes was out for 2 games with an upper body injury. As far as the result of Ryan Reeves' healthy scratch, which was probably helped to reduce tensions, Reeves was suspended 5 games for a brutal hit. I'm going to emphasize brutal hit on Oilers' Darnell Nurse when the teams met in November in Toronto. You might not want to even look at it, as it was that bad of a hit, and it was definitely worthy of the 5-game suspension. Oilers' Bouchard scored his 9th goal of the season and his 50th of his career, becoming the 2nd fastest defenseman in Oilers history to hit that mark. The key moment, Edmonton appeared to have tied it with 2:04 remaining, and Skinner off for an extra attacker when Connor McDavid sent it across to Leon Draisaitl, and he picked the top corner with a one-timer. However, it was turned out that John Klingberg was offside on the play after a successful coach's challenge. Klingberg's timing is going to be out for a bit. He hasn't played in a year and a half. You got to give the guy a bit of a break. But we're going to need him down the stretch for sure. And I'm already starting to see things I do like, but he's also been a little bit invisible during gameplay. During practices, he's keeping up to McDavid really well, but game experiences are a much different thing. The key stat, Toronto is 12. I don't know why it says his, but Toronto is 12-2-2 in its last 16 games against the Oilers and 10-2-1 in its last 13 games in Edmonton. I couldn't believe that stat when I saw it. I'm like, really? That's not good. That's not good. The Oilers have got to start playing better against the Maple Leafs. Joseph Wall stopped 45. Matthew Knights. Okay, so we're back at the front here. Yeah, it was not a game that I really cared for, to be honest with you. I kind of lost interest 10 minutes into it. I was still watching it, but I was like, well, I'll listen to it and do dishes and all that kind of stuff and tune into the second period. And the second period got better, but the damage was done in the first period. So let's take us now to the current Western Conference standings, as the Edmonton Oilers have bumped up once again and are now currently in third in the Western Conference. So Winnipeg stays even from last week. The Vegas Golden Knights obviously bump up from third to second. The Edmonton Oilers bump down from second to third. Dallas, Minnesota stay even. Colorado has bumped up one. LA has bumped down one. Calgary stays even. Vancouver stays even. Utah is a +1, while St. Louis is a -1. And then Seattle, Anaheim, Nashville, Chicago, and San Jose all stay even in their respective position from last week. So what does that mean for playoff matchups if it was to start today? Calgary would take on the Winnipeg Jets on Jets ice. Vegas would have home ice against the Avs. Dallas now has flipped the script, and they would have home ice against Minnesota. Last week, Minnesota had home ice against Dallas. So that's how tight that race is. And again, we would see a rematch of the LA Kings, Edmonton Oilers. Of course, the Oilers having a rematch. And when I say this episode was called a 3-horse race, it is just that. I looked at the standings. You know that Edmonton and Vegas are very close with each other. 8 points behind are the LA Kings. Now, that sounds like a lot, but they also have 2 games in hand on both of those teams. So really, it's only 4 points behind if you think about it. So, I mean, Edmonton has to win 2 games they have to stay ahead 2 games. So it's close. It's going to be a very close race to the finish line when this is all done and said. So that takes us to the upcoming games for this week, and then there's going to be a bit of a break. So I'll be doing one more episode, then I'll probably take a week off again, but this time it's not for family reasons. I'll be taking a week off because the players are going to be taking a week off as the Four Nations tournament will commence. So let's go through the upcoming games that are headed our way, as they'll be set to go on the road against St. Louis on Tuesday. In a back-to-back situation, they'll be in Chicago on Wednesday. And Friday, they'll be at home to close out until the break, and will return February 22nd on the road in Philadelphia. So they'll be off for a couple weeks, and we'll see what happens. As far as the game against St. Louis, let's take a look at some of the notable stats here. Okay, so the Blues really are not having a very good year. They're in the process of building. They got some young talent. They got some young talent from the Edmonton Oilers in Broberg and Holloway. 2 guys that, well, I miss Holloway for sure. Broberg, he was a bit whiny, wanted to get out of Edmonton. Fine, so be it. Bye-bye. Holloway, I don't believe he wanted to leave, but he was part of that thing, and they never countered the offer. So that's it. They were gone. St. Louis really not very good on the offense. Their highest grade is faceoffs, where they're 19th in the league, and Edmonton are currently 6th in the league. Yeah, it's not even comparable to the offense of the Edmonton Oilers compared to the offense of the St. Louis Blues. So I'm just going to leave it at that. The rest are all in the 20s. There's no need of really harping on their numbers all that much. When it comes to defense, for the most part, middle of the pack, with exception to the penalty kill, where they're 29th in the league. So this is where the Edmonton Oilers offense, which is starting to look good, can take advantage of this. Stuart Skinner is likely to start for this game with a 19-12-4 record, 271 goals against average, and a 902 save percentage with two shutouts. Jordan Bennington, 13-19-3, 289, and a 897 save percentage with 3 shutouts. Now, do you guys remember? And I think I might be even guilty of this. Do you guys remember we were so interested in getting Jordan Bennington on our team? Well, he's not exactly a star-studded profile like everyone makes him out to be. And I made that same mistake with, what's his name? That went to Detroit from St. Louis. Husso. I thought he would be studded. I don't even think he's playing in the NHL anymore. So just goes to say, and I'm guilty of it. I'm very guilty of it. Renegade Man will definitely attest to that I tend to go off a little bit on Skinner. You got to give the guy a chance. He's going to have, hey, goaltenders have good and bad nights, but it's not just their fault. It's just they're the last line of defense, so they're always going to be the guy to blame. Anyway, I'm rambling on a little too much here. Let's take a look at the next night where they'll take on the Chicago Blackhawks at the United Center in Chicago. This is a team that really is struggling. Bedard in his sophomore year, really not playing so good. So I don't know. They just recently got rid of Taylor Hall. They didn't get much in return. They took on a bunch of money to help the deal, or to help broker the deal with Carolina and Colorado to bring Rantanen to Carolina. They took on half the money and didn't really get much in return, like a third. Like it makes you wonder, why were they even, like, I don't know. I just think that was, unless there's something for a future consideration that they'll take on maybe later. I don't know. Anyway, the Blackhawks. Okay, so every one of their offensive stat is in the 20s with exception to the face-off percentage. Again, just very, oops, I'm reading the wrong one here. Where's the Blackhawks? Okay. Yeah. Everyone, well, they have actually 2 stats that are kind of decent. So they're 10th in the league for the power play. So they got a decent power play at 23.2%, and 14th, they're tied for 14th on their shooting percentage. That's a lot of it is Bedard, but again, he's still struggling in his sophomore year. He needs a few pieces to help. They need a lot of pieces actually, but for him personally, he needs someone that can really get him the puck and where he can do his damage. When it comes to defense, they're pretty bad they're like 30th in the league on goals allowed. Shots on goal allowed, they're 30th in the league. 20th in the league for penalty minutes. Penalty kill is 11th in the league. But history has shown that the Edmonton Oilers don't do very good against shitty teams. And we'll see what happens here. I'm hoping to see some good results, but we'll see. Calvin Pickard likely to get the start for this game, or it's going to be vice versa, but you know that it's going to be both of them playing on this road trip with a record of 13-4-0. I like Pickard this year. He's been actually someone that's been lights out good. 247 goals against average, 901 save percentage, and I want to see that guy get his first shutout. As far as the Blackhawks, Peter Mrazek likely to get the start with a 9-18-2. 332 goals against average. Ugh, that's ugly. And an 895 save percentage with 0 shutouts. So right there, that tells you it's a bleeding D, right? It's a bleeding D because his save percentage is actually quite reputable considering, it's a 332 goals against. And how many shots on goal do they allow? Shots on goal. They're 30th in the league for allowing shots on the goal. So that tells you a lot right there where their flaws are. that it is defensive related, not so much goaltending related. And yeah, defensive and I guess your centerman related. That's something that Connor Bedard is going to have to learn. It takes all the best a long time to learn that stuff. So we'll see what happens with that. And now we'll take you to the final game as the Edmonton Oilers will play host to the Colorado Avalanche this February 7th at 6 p.m. in Edmonton. This is going to be a doozy. These games are the ones I get up for and want to really watch because this is going to be two teams that might clash in the playoffs, and we'll see what happens. And Colorado's, again, they're a team like the Oilers, started off very poorly, but is starting to dig their way out and starting to make some ground up as they are 7th in the league for goals, 10th in the league for shots on goal, 18th in the league on the power play, 31st for faceoffs, 4th in the league for shooting percentage. Can't quite see. Okay, what do we got here? 19th in the league for goals allowed, 4th in the league for shots on goal allowed, 5th in the league for penalty minutes, and 13th in the league for penalty kills. Sorry about that. It's just I have my camera blocking the stats there, so I had to kind of dodge away and look at a different screen there to get it. The Avalanche will be coming into this game with a record of 31-21-2. The Oilers, as of now, obviously there's going to be games going on by the time they meet each other, but as of now, 32-16-4. The Oilers are on a 2-game losing streak. Colorado on a 2-game winning streak. So two polar opposites there. Scott Wedgwood will come into this game with a record of 6-5-1, 257 goals against average, and an .898 save percentage with 1 shutout. Skinner definitely will be getting a start for this, as it will be his last kick at the can before the break, with a 19-12-4. 271 goals against average and a .902 save percentage with 2 shutouts. So there you have it, guys. And then we will see Canada. I believe it's on the 12th that they play. Canada will take on, I believe it's Sweden in the first game. And then Finland takes on, I think, the States or something like that. I'm not exactly sure the schedule, but we're going to see some best-on-best hockey, which is going to be absolutely amazing. And then that'll be it for a bit. So that leaves us going into the poll question. I'm going to get away from the Oilers for one moment on this poll question, as we are going into this Four Nations tournament in a week from now. My question is, and it's already up on Twitter, on my Twitter account, is what team has the best chances of winning the Four Nations tournament starting February 12th? The options are Canada. There's only 4 options. So Canada, United States, Sweden, Finland. Scan that QR code. It'll take you directly to my X page where you can place that vote. It'll be up for 7 days. So try to get your vote in. I'd like to hear your thoughts and chime in if you want at the end of it and what you think about this tournament and this format. You like it, you hate it, we'll see. All right, so that takes us to final thoughts. We're going to get right into final thoughts. So if you guys have any comments or questions, feel free to answer now or forever hold your peace. All right. So far, no one has chimed in. I'm looking forward to this tournament. Would I like to see Russia in there? For sure. So it's a little bit unfortunate Russia is not competing. It's unfortunate that they have to take the slack for a world leader that's a dictator or whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to get all political here. But that because of his actions, like a lot of hockey players like Ovechkin can't participate. A lot of good Russian players, Podkolzin, and Russia would be a pretty good threat if they were in that. So unfortunately, they're not. It's the way it is. The Edmonton Oilers kicking ass. Love what they're doing. They've had a great month, and I think I'm pretty much out for words. No comments for today, so I am going to shut this down. And you guys have a good week. We'll see you next Sunday. I'll try to make it around the same time. It just depends. My schedules fluctuate, so I have to balance a lot of stuff around. But today was a little bit later than normal. That being said, it might be at 11. It just all depends on my schedule. Anyway, guys, a salute to you guys. Thanks for being a loyal follower for this long. And I hope you do enjoy my content. And those of you who have or are watching this channel for the very first time and like what the messages and content that I bring, I do make mistakes. There's no question. But I also try to give you an honest perspective out of a diehard Edmonton Oilers fan for, how old am I? Yeah, about, let's say, we'll just say 20 years. Just for shits and giggles. All right, guys. You guys have a great evening. We'll see you next week.